Glad to have you back. You're still watching Newspaper Review on High Impact Television. We've taken a look at the headlines on the front pages of the papers Punch, Guardian and Vanguard. Right now we have our guest joining us via phone call in person of Barrister Oluwatobi Fatoki, a legal practitioner who joins us from Ibadan. Good morning, Barrister Fatoki. Thank you for joining us on the review.
Good morning.
All right, very quickly, let's move on to what we have. A very interesting conversation that I'm sure you've seen making the rounds on all the pages of the paper, all social media, for quite a while now. Yesterday, which was Wednesday, the 20th of October, 2021, was the memorial of the hashtag EndSARS protest that took place last year. And let's begin with the part of your reaction to how the anniversary, the protest, the memorial eventually turned out yesterday.
Thank you very much. Firstly, I want to commiserate with the family whom have lost people in the last year, October 2020 massacre at the Lekki Toll Gates, all over Nigeria. Well, the outcome of the protest of yesterday is not far-fetched. Some are already foreseen that it's going to turn out this way. Firstly, the people have the right to protest the remembrance. And as a legal practitioner, I will say yes, they have the right to protest. Because these are, majority of them are people that were present. They saw with their eyes what happened. Majority of them are people who had first-class information as to the happening of October 2020. So there is no way such an ugly incident would have happened in your presence and you will still protest. I remember 1993, during the presidential election of Chief Emeka Abiola, years after years, people of the country still go on the street protesting drug trade today. So there is no way people will come out and say they want to protest.
Right.
But before they protest, there were outcries here and there. People calling for police to protect, to live to their duty and responsibility. Protecting lives and properties. Nigerian police stating that, they won't encourage any kind of marching. People can only protest by driving around in their vehicles and what have you. Well, no matter what, a protest, by definition of law, is a civil outcry or agitations against what the people say they want to condemn.
Right.
Is more a civil outcry, agitations.
Okay. Barrister Fatoki, let me butt in here a bit. Now, as a legal practitioner, you've established the fact that a protest is a civil outcry and it's a fundamental right that, citizens have the right to protest peacefully, right? There have been contentions, there have been debates stating that these protesters should have, approached the Nigerian police in a more legal and formal manner. Now, I would like to ask, as a legal practitioner, what is the position of law on protests generally?
Thank you very much. Generally, it's the duty of the Nigerian police or security agencies to protect lives and properties. And as they established, I've forgotten the case, that, well, if you want to protest or go for a rally, it's not a must that you go for police permit. It's not a must. The law does not make it compulsory that, you must first secure or procure a police permit. But the law establishes under the Police Act the protection of lives and properties. Even under the Constitution, Section 14, the law establishes the government to cater for the welfare and the security of the city, of its citizens, as the primary purpose of government. And the protest we are talking about, it is one which the bell has been rung a long time ago. It has been early stage. Now, there is likelihood of protest on October 20, 2021.
Yeah.
And a whole lot of stakeholders have even called on the Nigerian police. Because ordinarily, this protest does not have a figurehead leader.
Sure.
That we say we want to go and meet the police and say this and that and that. These are agitations of the youth from different parts of the country. You see, the program didn't just hold alone in Lagos State. It was held in different states in Nigeria.
Yeah.
By youth that were concerned with the brutality, with the harassment of Nigerian police, security forces on the citizen, even despite after the massacre and the brutality of October 2020.
Barrister Fatoki, now it's important to note that, you know, this NSAS protest took place in 2020, and just, you know, yesterday, seeing how things turned out, the United States advised protesters to engage the federal government politically. Now, it's important to also note that after 1 year, most of these reforms and changes that these protesters are asking for have not been effected yet. How else do you think these protesters can make their demands known politically without engaging in a protest?
Oh, it is a pity at first that nothing has really changed. Nothing has really changed. But I think without going by protest, the proper way, we have a lot of NGOs, we have SERAP, they are living to their best, trying their best, challenging the accountability and the responsibility of the government to its people. And we have the press, as you are doing at High Impact TV, and a whole lot of you are doing there, bringing the responsibility and the accountability of the government to the people. And I think if more of this is being done without protest, then one day government will realize that, oh, there have been an overwhelming report against us, and they have to dot their I's and cross their T's. And I think the rule of law needs to be championed in our country. And how do we go by that? The Yoruba will say, sorry to say I'm a Yoruba man and I have to use some Yoruba words. The Yoruba do say, there are many people that have been victims of police brutality, harassment, and what have you, and to date have failed to realize that they can actually seek for redress in the court of law. Is it that they cannot afford legal practitioners? Even if they cannot afford legal practitioners, is it that they cannot go out to NGOs that stands against oppression of citizens? So many of these victims, where perhaps there are some that actually have offenses that they have committed, so they keep quiet. But as reports we have it, or from facts of cases in our court, talking about the state high court or federal high court on FREPU's fundamental rights enforcement procedure, only few cases have gone in the line of fundamental rights enforcement, especially on issues like this.
Right. Okay.
So I think the citizens should test the law. They should not keep quiet. They should approach the proper channel and let he or who will be sued be sued. And if this is becoming rampant, and the court gives judgment to their sanction, a police officer, a security officer was sanctioned and you were fined, I believe there will be sanity along the line.
Talking about citizens testing the law, right? A lot of people will say, how do they even want to go about this when the channel in which they are supposed to go through are not supportive of them? Now, we also know that before this protest, human rights activists wrote to the IGP to ensure that policemen are deployed to protect protesters and see that it is not hijacked. But from videos circulating on social media, we see policemen actually shouting at these protesters that were not, seen with harmful equipment, shouting that they should be arrested. And, some were seen arrested and kept in a van and taken to an unknown location. We also saw journalists being arrested while carrying out their duties. Now, it is stated clearly that when the police is informed about a particular protest that is going to take place, it is their responsibility to protect these protesters. Is there a particular, judgment or punishment that would be implemented because these policemen knew about this protest and went ahead to rather disperse the protesters and arrest them even while journalists as well were carrying out their job?
Oh, thank you very much. I believe the law will take its course. I believe the act from yesterday will be challenged. I believe so, and I hope so. But funny enough, the police at times have rights to, by reasonable force, to suppress a riot, as I'm saying. But what happened yesterday wasn't in any way a riot. It was a civil protest. So I think they have failed to decipher the difference between a riot and a civil protest. And that was why they argued some of the protesters yesterday, and even the journalists, as rioters. They have failed to establish the thin line between a riot and a protest. So I am saying that they have gone to traverse their duty. They have gone against the procedure of their duty. And I believe even many of us have been clamoring, challenging what they have done yesterday.
Right.
And it's not only shouting, they actually, I saw clips, citizens were actually harassed. Not just intimidation, they were harassed, they were assaulted by security persons.
Right.
And the whole of Nigeria and we stand against such a fact. That the protests have not in any way gone out of hand. Even I think one of the first protesters that even arrived, sorry, I think he had a big on the head, put on a wet wrapper.
Yes.
Without just arriving the scene.
Okay, Barry.
He was harassed and taken away.
Barrister
so
Fatuki.
I think this begs for an answer.
Right. Before I wrap it up with you very quickly, let's talk about, still on this, the Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, made a statement yesterday. We'll play the video very much later on the review, how that the Lekki massacre did not occur, and demanded that Amnesty International, CNN, did a switch, and persons that were involved fully in that, give an apology because it did not occur. So does that imply that all the judicial panels that were set up did not come up with any tangible evidence?
Thank you very much. As a legal practitioner and as an activist myself, sincerely, the federal government have not tried for this business. And if any apology ought to be given by anyone, it should be the federal government to Nigerians, and in particular to the Nigerian youth. And I wish to say that I do not align myself with the position of Lai Mohammed on this. Number one, who should even take responsibility? You see, the government has not been sincere with what actually played out at the Lekki Toll Gate on October 2023. And one of the reasons why I said the government has not been clear, if you are standing by the fact that there was no actual killing Why the first denial? That no army were deployed to the scene. No initial denial by the government. Later on, the army were deployed. They did not shoot it. They did not fire any live, what's it called?
Ammunition.
Later on, they declared, they fired live rounds. But we shot at the air. Governor Sanwo-Olu said nothing happened. Later on, he came out and said, 2 people were shot. So why the blowing of code and all by the government? We cannot be talking about the Nigerian army and say the responsibility of the citizens to deploy army. No. It's the responsibility of the government.
Right.
Either the DCFR or anybody who have done that against the order of the DCFR.
Okay.
So why the blowing of code and all at the same time?
Right.
So from day one, and mind you, and to hit it on the air, to hit the nail on the head, what happened to the CCTV cameras at the Lekki Toll on the eve of October 2023? Where were the CCTV cameras dismantled and taken away?
Right. It's important.
I'm still coming. I'm not done.
Okay.
So all these have shown from having shown the insincerity of the federal government. And Amnesty International, CNN, through the professionalism of journalism, established the fact of what transpired on October 2020. The federal government sued them and made an action against them, but only unnecessary denial. They have failed to take responsibility. And even the judicial panel, the coroners, they gave evidence at the panel. 9 bodies were, 2 bodies were brought from Lekki, 9 bodies were brought, 99 bodies all over the coast, and that. So, what has happened to those evidences established at the Lagos judicial panel?
Barrister Fatoki, I would really love to, continue on this conversation with you, but because of time constraint, I would have to wrap it up with you here. We'll definitely have, this conversation another time, and let's just stay hopeful that this conversation and the hashtag EndSARS it's not something that is going to end anytime soon, but we'll get to see how it unfolds and get updates on it. Thank you so much for joining us on The Review this morning and for sharing your thoughts with us.
You're most welcome.
Do enjoy the rest of your day.